Cady Stortzum was the average teenage girl growing up in small-town Nebraska, from being involved in every sport in school to riding her horses, until one day, everything changed.
So in April of 2015, Cady, she started to develop some pain in her neck. We didn't know what it was. I thought it was an ingrown hair. I looked at it. I told her she'd be fine. She continued working. She continued going to school.
While Cady was still working and going to school, the pain continued to affect her to the point that she couldn't get out of bed, and that's when her mother, Susan, decided to take her into the doctor.
We took her to the doctor. Doctor ran tests. Everything was fine. Said she probably had mono or maybe a virus. Sent her home, put her on some antibiotics. Cady was still complaining of pain, and she just didn't look herself again. She was pale. She was tired. And so I really didn't know what she had.
As the doctors continued looking for different answers, Cady's health started decreasing at a rapid pace, and Susan took her back in again.
I took her back into the doctor, and the doctor was just, kind of concerned. They ran more tests. And then at this point, the doctor said, was she ever bit by a tick or anything, or, a mosquito? And thinking back, before she started her symptoms about 2 weeks ago, we had actually pulled a tick off the top of her head. We didn't think anything of it, knew we got all of the tick out of her head. And I said, yeah, she was bitten by a tick. So, the doctor thought, well, maybe she had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, maybe she had Lyme disease. So the doctor tested her for those things. Those all came back normal. We were at a loss. We didn't know what was wrong with Cady.
With each test coming back negative, the doctors think this might be psychosomatic or just an ongoing virus.
It was devastating when the doctors couldn't figure out what I had, and then when they said it was all in my head, because I knew it wasn't all in my head because I could feel the pain. I had the lymph nodes swollen on the side of my neck. I couldn't concentrate in school. I just knew it wasn't all in my head.
After going to a specialist and getting her swollen lymph nodes tested, Susan got a call at work saying she needed to take Cady to Children's Hospital immediately.
After we got her to Children's Hospital, they drew blood, and the doctor come in with a really worried look on her face, and she's like, I don't know if you're have ever heard of this or not, but Cady has something called tularemia. And I looked at the doctor and I said, oh my God, she has rabbit fever? And the doctor's like, yes, she has rabbit fever. How did you know what that was? Years ago in my microbiology class, I actually drew that name out of a hat, and I did a presentation on tularemia. I knew how serious it was. I knew this disease could be deadly. I was so afraid for Cady's life.
Tularemia is a rare infectious disease that typically attacks the skin, eyes, lymph nodes, and lungs, and without proper care, can be fatal.
When I first found out I had tularemia, I was just honestly grateful that they found out what I had and that they could treat it. And I was glad that I was getting treatment and they actually knew what they were gonna do now, instead of just blowing it off and saying, oh, it's on your head, or we don't know what to do, just go home and I'll be fine.
When Cady was admitted, she had round-the-clock nursing care. She had IV antibiotics into her to help her feel better. She was monitored constantly. My husband and I sat by her bedside. We called family in to come see her. And I knew, being a nurse as well as doing this presentation on tularemia, that this disease is very fatal. And I was scared. I was so scared for her life that she would die.
After a short stint at Children's Hospital, Cady would then be sent to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, where she went through an extreme program called PRC.
We enrolled Cady in a month-long program at Mayo Clinic at Rochester. It was to help with pain, so it was called the Pain Rehab Clinic. It teaches kids with chronic or terminal illness not necessarily how to handle their pain, but it teaches them how to have a better quality of life. So there's a waiting list for this program. Some children are terminally ill and they don't get into the program. We were fortunate enough to have Cady get into the program. That did help her some, so she does manage her pain a little better with deep breathing, with yoga, with positive self-talk. We use other ways to manage her pain. So she was on 46 different medications and now she's on 2. So that has helped.
And as of today, Cady continues to get treatment frequently from the Mayo Clinic, hoping for a cure and some answers. If you want to learn more about tularemia, go to www.cdc.gov/tularemia.